Thank you for coming out today for our Genealogy 101 class. My name is Rachel. I am the manager of the Genealogy and Local History Department. I've been a genealogist for as long as I can remember. My degree is in genealogy, so this is something that I'm very, very passionate about. If at any point anybody has questions, please feel free to ask. It'll be a lot more fun if this is interactive and you're not just listening to me yammer. So I will do my very, very best to answer those questions for you. This is being recorded. I can't see any of you, so you don't need to worry about that. Those of you online, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I do have the chat window open, so I should be able to see you. Let's go ahead and get started and talk about some genealogy. So I started off with this quote: if you're lucky enough to be a genealogist, you are lucky enough. And this is my passion, so I just feel this deep in my soul. There's so many great things that you will find as you start researching your family and figuring out where you came from. And Cassie, you know Cassie Blankenhorn, who works in the genealogy room. We were just talking about this. Some people are a little nervous to get into their genealogy. They don't know what they're going to find. And I read this quote in one of my classes. It said, you shouldn't judge your ancestors because you don't know what they think of you either. So keep that in mind as we are moving through. So this is just the very basic introduction to genealogy. This is how we kind of can get started. We're going to talk about these 4 areas, and we'll just go through them one at a time. So if you have any questions, let me know. So let's talk about how to get started. I also broke this up into different parts so that we can really break it down and try to make it easy. So the first step, you are going to start with your very own self. So on a sheet of paper, on a family group sheet, on a pedigree chart, and we'll talk about those later if you don't know what those are, you are going to record your full given name. Don't record a nickname. You can record it in a separate, like in quote marks or something. I have an ancestor, his name was Ira Hugh, and he went by Jack. So I have Ira Hugh and then Jack in parentheses. But you want your full given name. For women, you always want to start recording the women by their maiden name, because you want records that are going to return the most information, and you're not going to find a birth certificate under somebody's married name. So always use maiden names. Then you're going to record your dates. And the standard in the genealogical community is use the 2-digit date. Like for Christmas, you would use 25. If it's the beginning of the month, 01, 02. And then for the month, you either record the whole spelled out month, or you use the first 3 letters. And that includes months like June and July. You would just have JUN or JUL. Either way, those are the 2 standard forms. And always the 4-digit year. Because as you get started, it's pretty obvious that it's 1974. But as you start getting into it, you're going to get back to the 1800s pretty quickly. So always use your 4-digit year. So you've got your name and your date. When you record the place, you want to start with the smallest classification and build out. So for example, you would have Lawrenceburg, Dearborn County, state of Indiana in the United States. I have ancestry from England. They were from Bolton, which is in Lancashire County, just outside of Manchester. And that's in England, which is part of the UK. Make sense? Okay. If you do not know the county, that is so easy to find. That's a 2-second Google search. You can type in County for Hebron, Kentucky, and it will pull it up and show you that's in Boone County. So it's really easy to find that information. And then after you have recorded your information, you will record the information about your immediate family. So you can record a spouse or spouses, no judgment, spouse or spouses, and any children that you may have with this same format. Full given names, full birth dates, full places, as much as you are able to remember. And if you can't remember, that's okay. We'll help you figure it out. So then would you go ahead towards your children's spouses and grandchildren? Okay, so the question is, would you then include your children's spouses and their dates and information, their grandchildren? Yes, you absolutely could. You start building, but start with yourself, because most people know their own information, and then start with what you know. So yeah, that was a great question. Any other questions so far? We good? All right. So after you started with yourself, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get a big old box, and I want you to put it somewhere that's a little bit obnoxious. Not somewhere that, I'm not kidding, not somewhere that you're going to trip on it, because I don't want that liability, guys, but put it somewhere that you're going to see it often, and you're going to be reminded, that's my big old box. And then in that box, you're going to start putting anything that could be considered significant to help you piece together the story of your family. So I've included some examples here, official certificates like birth, marriage, death certificates, diplomas, newspaper clippings, maps, family Bibles. Oh my gosh, if you have a family Bible, I am 100% jealous, because my older brother has ours and I'm a little bitter, not gonna lie. Anything, military promotions. I have been a genealogist forever, and I got a big old box, and I thought that I'm not going to find anything. I've been doing this forever. I found so many things, like my nephew's high school graduation announcement. I hadn't put that in my genealogy. My husband's cousin got married, and we had a wedding announcement that I hadn't put in. I found a certificate from when my son was in the 3rd grade spelling bee. I put that in the box. I hadn't put that in. But all of those things tell the story of your family. So anything that tells that story, that takes that name and date and place and makes them a real person, put it in the box. Cool? Questions? Okay. Next, you want to talk to living family members. This, especially if they are older than you want to talk to them and get any information that they might remember. Talk to your parents, talk to your siblings, talk to aunts, uncles, cousins. There are a lot of reasons that you want to do this. Frequently, they're going to remember some small detail that you might not remember, and they can provide that and help you to close that gap. If you have family photos, and you know, okay, I know this is grandpa and this is his brother, but I don't know these other people, they might be able to help you identify some of those people. They might have the family Bible. They might have other documentation that you don't have that they might be willing to share with you. And we're going to talk about some, the origin of some traditions, because every family has those traditions, right? Like, this is just what our family does and nobody really knows why. Somebody knows why. So I thought about, as an example, I have a sister-in-law. Every Christmas Eve, they all get together and they eat clam chowder and they throw crackers at each other. And I have no idea why. She invited us over, and don't get me wrong, it was a lot of fun, but I thought, why? And then she told us that when her uncles were little, that they were eating Christmas dinner and they threw a cracker at each other, and their mom was furious and they thought it was hilarious, and it became a tradition, and it has now carried on to the next generation. And my brother and my sister-in-law are raising their daughter to throw crackers at people, and it's so much fun to go to their house on Christmas Eve. So you never know. You never know why. If somebody, a stranger, showed up, they'd be like, these people are crazy. But there's a tradition behind it, and the fact that it's recorded is just fun because it makes them real. Okay, some examples of family traditions. You should treat them as clues, not as absolute fact. So I don't know how many of you have been told that you tie into royalty. I know I was told I tie into royalty. It's in the newsletter, right? King Charles is like my 11th cousin or something. So I do tie in, but y'all, it's distant. I'm not getting invited to the coronation. So treat it as a clue, not as absolute fact. I've heard stories like 3 brothers immigrated from Germany, but they all lived in different, one went out to California, one settled in Wisconsin, one moved on to Florida. That's one of those questions you have to kind of wonder, like, why would they do that? Especially coming from a non-English speaking country. I'm not saying they didn't, but typically you would stick together as a family. So that's one of those times you would have to say, I don't know if that's true. I'm going to look a little harder. If there are huge, huge changes of names, Now, again, if you come from a non-English speaking country, it's not unusual for names to change a little bit, you know, especially if you came in and the person at the customs gate asks you what your name is, they're going to write down what they hear, not necessarily, and if you don't use the same alphabet, you know, their changes happen. But if they go from like Richard Thompson to Peter Green, that's one of those situations, like they're either running from the law or that's not right. So just question it a little bit. So many people, I'm descended from an Indian princess. No, you're not. You're not. Indian tribes, the Native American tribes, they didn't have princesses. That's not how it worked. So sorry to bust your bubble. That's one of those things that you just have to be like, no. Or we hear this one all the time. I have a great great aunt who was super rich and she died and nobody claimed her estate. No, that I'm sorry, that is 99.9% not going to happen. If somebody had money, somebody else is going to claim it. So it's not, you know, 100% of the time that's going to be false, but it's one of those situations that you just have to be like, I'm gonna go ahead and declare shenanigans and move ahead. All right, I love this quote too. If you don't know history, you don't know anything. You're a leaf that doesn't know it's part of a tree. And I like that because none of us are alone. We're all connected to something that's just so much bigger. And I love that connection. My ancestors went through hard things. I can go through hard things. So I like being part of my tree. So let's talk about getting organized. So you've gathered your information, you've talked to other people, you've got your big old box. Now you have to organize it all, right? So how are we going to go about doing that? Honestly, the simple answer is however you want. Your organizational system just needs to work for you and it needs to be consistent. So I did list several ideas that we can talk about. The first, you can organize things, bless you. You're fine. You can organize things by family. Each surname gets its own binder. Then within the binder, you can do things alphabetically, you can do it chronologically, you can do it by event. You could decide not to do things by surnames. You could have a binder for everybody who came from Ireland, everyone who came from Wales. The important thing just is that you know your system. Hopefully other people can figure it out as well. Don't make it super complicated, but then be consistent. You don't want to have some family by surnames and others that are done alphabetically. You want to keep it the same across the board. But once you get started, you can be as OCD as you want to be with your organizational system. So if you have a surname binder and then within the binder, you have a section where it's all alphabetical and then a section where it's all chronological and a section where you just want to keep all your birth certificates or death certificates all together. That's completely your call. So did I freak you out a little bit? Are we okay? Okay. So here are several different methods to preserve your records. The first is just to put things in binders. That's something that I do. It's something that I see a lot. Be very, very careful if you use sheet protectors. We get donations here at the library all the time that are old. They've been in sheet protectors and the ink binds itself to the plastic. So when you try to pull it out, it sticks, it rips, it's horrible. So if you want to use sheet protectors, make sure that you use the words archival quality. That's something that you're going to hear a lot in classes like this. And just be aware it is more pricey, but it will last. Okay, filing cabinets. Filing cabinets are another great way to organize your information. You can use different colored folders. You can use different file boxes for different, however you want to organize it. Filing cabinets are great. Boxes, again, archival quality. Please don't go get a box from Home Depot and put precious family photos in there because they're not going to last in a box like that. Photo albums, again, please make sure that they are archival quality. We get donations here. We just got a whole bunch. And you can even see, you know, the little corner protectors, you can see the discoloration on the photos from the corner protectors. Yeah, the glue on the pages can deteriorate the photos. So make sure, we didn't know, right? We didn't know for so long. So make sure that if you're starting now, look for those things that are archival quality. They do have picture corners that are archival quality. They do have photo albums that are archival quality. So just add that to your search. Scrapbooks, beautiful but expensive. If that's your jam, have so much fun. I have never gotten into it, but there are digital scrapbook options if you wanted to look into something like that. They can be a lot of fun, and they get passed down because they're so pretty, but they are more pricey. And then there's also the option to store things digitally, which we will talk a little bit about as well. There are a lot of options that you can use to protect and preserve your information. I picked these three, and I'll just tell you why I picked these three. The first is Ancestry.com. I think everybody who has considered genealogy has heard of Ancestry.com. Yes? Yeah. Okay. Through the library, we have access to Ancestry Library, which is separate from Ancestry.com. It's the same company, but through Ancestry Library, you cannot create a tree. You can research, you can print documents out, but you cannot save it to a tree. There are a lot of really, really wonderful things about Ancestry. It's very, very user-friendly. When I started with Ancestry, I couldn't believe how easy it was for me to figure it out. I was not a techie person, but they made it very, very simple. You have access to literally millions and millions of documents and images. I had a yearbook photo. My grandmother and her high school marching band popped up on Ancestry, and I love that. On Ancestry, if you do have Ancestry, your tree is yours. You can make it completely private so no one else can see it. You can share it with others, but you get to decide how that works. One of the great things about Ancestry, it's a little pricey. So if you pay for it for a little while and then decide the furnace dies and I can't afford it, so you cancel your subscription, 2 years from now, if you decide, oh, hey, I want Ancestry again, if you keep your same login, everything has been saved. They protect all of that information. You just have to remember your login. I cannot help you with that if you can't remember. So write it down, keep it safe. You can have multiple trees. So again, if you want to organize things for your dad's side of the family, your mom's side of the family, you can have as many trees. My husband, you can have different trees. And it will give you hints. Like we think, that's how I found my grandmother's picture. Like, this is her name. We think this is her. And it was so fun. It will give you hints. It is subscription-based, and it is not cheap. It depends on if you just have Ancestry for USA or Ancestry worldwide. And it depends on if you get it on sale. Around big holidays, they will run discounts, and they're good for about 6 months. You can get 6 months for about, I want to say $60. So it's $60. I think it's total. Yeah, don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. I will find out. It does. And you know what? When we finish this recording, I can look it up and find out. It is subscription based. Documents could disappear. I have not had this happen often. But if somebody has uploaded a copy of a document and then they remove it from their tree and you've saved it from their tree, if they delete it, it's gone from your tree as well. So if you upload things and somebody else, saves it from your tree and you delete your tree, then they lose it as well. Does not happen often, but it is a possibility. So make sure that you're saving things. Your hints could be absolutely kooky dukes. They might be your person. They might not be related at all. So it's not like I have 18 hints. All these things are true. You have to go through one by one and verify everything. And there could also be human error when with the indexing process. They could say, oh, this says John Smith, but it says Jason Smith. You know, if they type John and you're looking for Jason, it might not pop up. So that's Ancestry. This is part of my tree from Ancestry. You can save the pictures, which I really like. The little green dot it means you have a hint. So I have so many. I'm like going for the high score at this point. I have so many hints. No, as Ancestry is adding more records to their collection, they have what they call OCR, which reads the documents. And if that reads your ancestor's name, it could say, oh, hey, we think this might be your person. So it could come from, yeah. Mm-hmm. The ancestry. Yes, it could come from the Ancestry database. And as they add more, like I go through and I clear all these out. I'm a professional genealogist. I go through this regularly, but as they add more documents, more hints can pop up. Something I should clarify on all of the major repositories, Ancestry, Family Search, MyHeritage, all of them, they protect information about living individuals. So if you were to look for me, you couldn't find me unless I share my tree with you. If I did share, if somebody could see my tree, if they couldn't see my children, it just shows living. That's it. My aunts and uncles who are still living, it just says living. They might not appear at all depending on their security settings. They take identity protection very, very seriously. So you can trust them with that. But this is, we're going to do a class Introduction to Ancestry in a couple of months. So keep your eyes open. We're going to go through all the details, how to use Ancestry. It really is a tremendous resource. So let's talk about Family Search. Unlike Ancestry, Family Search is completely free. You can access it from anywhere. They have online tech support if you get stuck. They also have libraries through the area. I think the closest to us, there's one in Norwood and there's one in Northern Kentucky. If you needed help, you could go to a Family Search affiliated library. We are actually a Family Search affiliated library, so you can come here, but the other libraries might have access to some things as well. You can get live in-person help or online tech support. You can store so many things like Ancestry. You can store the pictures. You can store images that you've scanned and uploaded. One of the things I love about Family Search is you can also keep voice recordings. So I know a woman who journals every day. She just records for 2 minutes. This is what my day was, and she throws it up on her Family Search account. So her family will have that, which I think is kind of interesting. One of the massive downsides of Family Search is that it is a universal tree, which means everybody's kind of contributing information to one source. And that means, and if you have your grandfather, anybody can look at your grandfather. They can make any changes they want at any time they want for any reason they want. And you can go back and fix it, but it can be kind of a pain in the butt. There is an option you can click to say you're following, like I want to follow my grandpa. And then if somebody makes a change, I'll get notified so I can go in and check it. But it can be, I mean, it's wonderful. Some people might have a lot of information that they share with you that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Oh, we got a text in the chat. Ancestry.com, there is a free trial, and then it's $49.99 a month. Carrie, do you know if that's for USA only or is that for worldwide? So I'll let you guys know. What was I talking about? Universal tree. So you can follow it, you can change it. Bless you. Yes, $49.99 a month. So I think I got like a super sweet sale one time, and now because of the work that I do, I can get, it's a whole thing. It is pricey. That's why we have a lot of people coming into the library to use Ancestry Library, and then we're going to talk about kind of a workaround here. So Ancestry is still slightly smaller than, I'm sorry, Family Search is slightly smaller than Ancestry, but they are catching up. We here in Dearborn County, I have partnered with Family Search to digitize a lot of the records from Dearborn County. So we're working on yearbooks. We partner with the courthouse, with the schools, with the historical society, with different churches. So in the next couple of years, all of that is going to be digitized and available online through our library and through Family Search free of charge. So keep your eyes open. We're very excited about that. No, you ask, please. The question is the Aurora Library also digitizing? Yes. I contacted them and said, hey, we're all part of Dearborn County. Do you want in? They're like, yes, please. So we're all working together.
Yeah, I believe they're still remodeling.
They are. Oh,
they had two really serious crises. Kim died quite suddenly.
Yes.
And Roy.
That's Family Search. I should be a rep, right? I love them. This is part of my tree. That's Ira Hugh, who went by Jack. Ancestry had the little green leaf. Family Search has the little blue box. That is a hint. And you can maneuver around. We're doing Intro to Family Search in March. And we'll be 1 week at North Dearborn. And then we're going to do another one here. The one that we do here will also have a Zoom link. So if anybody wants to learn more about how to use Family Search, that'll be fun. So Roots Magic. This is a program. They have a free program. They also have like a one-time fee. I did check, it was $30 for the software that you put on your computer. One of the big advantages of Roots Magic is as you create your tree, it's like Ancestry. You can create as many trees as you want. It belongs to you. It is on whatever device you use, or if you save it to the cloud, it is yours. It's not online unless you put it online. If you wanted to share it with somebody, you could put it on a flash drive and share it with them. It does play nicely with Family Search if you connect it. So you can pull information from Family Search, but it's not reciprocal. Family Search isn't going to be pulling from your tree. So you can get hints from Family Search and work that way. It does not play nicely with Ancestry or Ancestry Library. So, and one of the things I like, I'll show you in just a minute, is you can color coordinate your lines. So all of your mom's lines can be one color, all of dad's lines can be another one. I just think it's pretty. There is a one-time fee, so much less than Ancestry if you are not wanting to spend that much. Roots Magic, guys, it is not user-friendly. Once you figure it out, it's fine. And both Karen Page and I, who work here in the local history and genealogy department, we've both used this for school, so we can help you figure it out. We can walk you through it, but it's not intuitive. Their tech support is not the most helpful. When I was in school and would shoot them a question, it would take them days to get back to me. So, and I think I have Roots Magic 8. When they release Roots Magic 9, I don't get an automatic upgrade. I would have to pay for another version. And I mean, you don't have to. You could continue to use Roots Magic 8, but eventually it will be phased out. They won't continue to support. So here is an example of what that might look like. This is not my tree. I pulled this image off of the internet. You can see they did different lines, different colors. Some of the things that I did like is they have an alphabetical listing of every single person on your tree. So, and you can search really quickly and it will pull that up, which is very, very nice. And one of the other things that I liked is that it will generate reports for you. So if you put information in there and then you wanted to print out a family group sheet, you can click the button for family group sheet and it will populate it and print it out for you with all of your sources and citations. So that part is really nice, but you've got to do the work to get it entered in. We doing okay? Questions? Okay, so we had a paid version, a free version, and then a kind of paid for version. Love this quote. Because again, sometimes you meet people who are like, I had a friend from Australia and they were absolutely terrified to dive into their genealogy because for a long time, Australia is where they sent criminals, right? So they were so scared, but it's those nuts that make the family tree worth shaking. So, And again, you don't know what they think of you. So exactly, they survived hard things. Okay, so if storing information, we have a lot of different possibilities. Did I do this by slide? I think I did. Yes, if you're going to keep it at home, that's probably the easiest and the most cost-effective method of storing your genealogy. You can use your own organizational system. It's super easy if you find something new to go and slide it in, or if you have a friend come over, a grandchild, a sibling who wants to see something, you can pull it out. It's all right there. Make sure that you're aware of where you keep it. You want to keep any information that is destroyable. Is that a word? Able to be destroyed? You want to make sure that you're keeping it somewhere that is temperature controlled, that's cool and dry. So you want to avoid basements, garages, and attics, if at all possible. Okay, next up is the online repositories. And this is what we were talking about before with Family Search or Ancestry. There are a lot of different options. I just listed some of them here. I have not ever used WikiTree. I don't know anything about it. It is a possibility. Family Search, Ancestry, I use every day, every day. MyHeritage has a lot of great military records that some of the others don't search as well. Find My Past, I use sometimes. Ancestry and Family Search are my go-tos, but I have used Find My Past. Roots Magic and Family Tree Maker are very, very similar. They're both programs that you purchase one time and can use. I don't have a lot of experience with Family Tree Maker, but I've heard that it's more user-friendly, so I might be switching over. Blogs are another great option, and you can control if it's a free blog, if you want to pay money for it. Is it private? Are you sharing it with other people? You've got control. One of the really nice things about groups like Family Search and Ancestry is that they have whole teams whose sole job it is to keep information updated. So as they move to new operating systems, they have teams that take all of your stuff and move it up to the new operating system so that it will still, it's the most current technology. You don't have to worry about it becoming obsolete. Like I said before, information about living individuals is protected. If it's online, it's pretty easy to share. Okay, Carrie said that the $49.99 a month is, she thinks it's for the worldwide. So if you're just starting in the US, it might be a little bit smaller, but honestly, most of us are gonna hop the pond at some point. So you're going to be, it's pricey and I'm really sorry. Genealogy is not a hobby that you get into because it's cheap. Please, please, please don't keep the only copy of your genealogy. You want to make, because if anything happens, if, oh my gosh, if there was ever a fire or this area, a flood, you know, if anything like that ever were to happen and your records were destroyed, you do not want to lose all of that. It's so important. So you can go old school, photocopy it, send it to somebody else. If you have the online tree, Ancestry in particular, it's really easy to send an invite, let somebody else look at your tree so they have access as well. You can send it on a flash drive. If you don't know how to do that, any one of us here can help walk you through how to save it on a flash drive. GEDCOM files are, that's traditionally how genealogical information is transported, because it takes all this great big stuff and smushes it all down and makes it easily transferable. But don't keep the only copy. However you decide to do it, just make sure that it's in more than one place. Also, you could consider sharing it with your local library or historical society. We have a whole row of shelving that is full of family histories that have been compiled and donated to us. If you come down to the genealogy room, we have filing cabinets that are full. If you have information is not enough to go into a binder. But we still want to keep it, we can put it in a folder and save it in our file cabinet. Sorry, I spaced out a little bit there. But we love stuff like that. I got a donation once. Oh, it made me so sad. It was this beautiful picture, and it was an original wedding license for a couple. They were not from Dearborn County, and they didn't have any children, so they were only children themselves. And I thought, I cannot throw this away. It hurt my heart. So I tracked down where they lived and I sent it to their historical society. So they love stuff like that. Please consider us if you are considering sharing your information. People will not look forward to posterity who never look back at their ancestors. I feel like that's just true. When you care about where you came from, you're going to care about where you're going. Let's talk about some very, very basic vocabulary. And if you've heard words or phrases that you don't know that you would like to understand, please feel free to ask. Okay. First up, we have the difference between genealogy and family history. These are frequently used interchangeably, but they are actually different. So genealogy is your direct, it's your direct names, places, and dates, where you all came from. Family history it's just that, it's the history of your family. It's taking those names and dates and places and making them real. That's where things like those certificates, the newspaper clipping about participating in the pie eating contest at the county fair, all of those things are considered family history. Make sense? Do I need to leave this up for another minute here? We good? Okay. Next up, we have the difference between an ancestor and a descendant. So I remember ancestor starts with A, which is at the beginning. So ancestors are people who came at the beginning. They came before. Your parents, your grandparents, aunts and uncles are ancestors because they came before you. And descendants starts with D, they are down the line. So your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, so on and so forth. And this can be applied if you go back and you want to find all the descendants of your great-grandfather. Some of those descendants might be your ancestors. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. But that's what those two words mean. We're still writing. Okay, are we ready to move it along? You still writing, Karen? I'll give you a minute. Okay. Next up, vital records or vital events. You're going to hear this a lot as you get into genealogy. Vital records or vital events are anything about birth, marriage, or death. So here in the United States, birth certificates are relatively new invention. Most states did not start mandating birth certificates until into the 1900s. So I know. Marriage certificates started first because marriage was like a legal thing. You're merging two families. Death certificates were next because then you had estates that had to be resolved. Birth certificates are, they're new in a lot of places. So you might need to start, once you get back so far, looking for church records. Because for a lot of churches, birth and baptism happen fairly close together. So baptism records can be considered a vital record. Burial records can be considered a vital record. Make sense? Okay. Pedigree charts and family group sheets. So if you are just starting out, please swing by the genealogy room before you leave. We have both of these available to fill out. Let me show you what they look like. Pedigree chart is your direct line. It's you, your parents, your grandparents, that's it. It doesn't include any of their siblings, any of your siblings. It's just you, yes. Family group sheet is going to have the dad and the mom and then all of their kids with the accompanying full names, dates, places, all of those things. And if you're really wanting to get into it, you're looking at your ancestors. If one of those kids got married, there is a little line on a lot of them. You can include the name of a spouse and things like that. So this is what a pedigree chart looks like. I picked Ira Hugh Jack again. That's him, his parents, their parents, etc. Make sense? Okay. And then this is a family group sheet from some of my German lines. So you've got the dad and the mom and kids. It can go on to the back. When you get to those families that had 12 or 14 kids, you could use multiple family group sheets. You want to make sure that you record everybody. And if there's any information that you don't know, that's okay. We'll figure it out. Questions, problems, concerns? Oh, we're good. Okay.
Rachel, second, Rachel.
Yes. Sorry, you startled me.
Sorry. That Tom. Could you possibly email those charts, like a blank chart?
Yes, I can. Do you have my email address? I think I sent you an email earlier. Yes. Okay. Yeah. If you, then I have your email.
Yeah.
So I will make myself a note to send those off via email.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. If it ever is an issue, there is a website through Family Search. It's familysearch.org/wiki, WIKI. And if you go there, you can look for a pedigree chart or a family group sheet, and they have templates that you can print out for free also. It's familysearch.org. And then /wiki, WIKI. It's one of my favorite tools in genealogy research. We'll talk about it when we do intro to family search. It's so good. You're going to love it. WIKI. Yep. You're going to love it. Oh, wait, I like that quote a lot. I love this idea that history remembers only the celebrated and genealogy remembers them all. Because I'm not a celebrated kind of person, but I want to be remembered. And as I've gotten into my genealogy, when I was a very little girl, I would sit down and fill out these forms with my mom and my grandparents. But when I was a teenager, I was reading a story about one of my ancestors. She was part of a handcart company that traveled across the United States, and she was not a small woman. She was sturdy. And she made this comment in a history her granddaughter later wrote, that if being part of that handcart company didn't make her thin, nothing ever would. And I read that and laughed my face off. I thought, that's so funny. Like, we would have been friends. And in that moment, like, she became very, very real to me. And I was 17. So that's when I started to realize, like, most people are never going to know who she is, but she's important to me. So telling her story and being, connected to that, it's important to me. So we get to remember them all. That's what I tell people. It's not something I have to do. This is something everybody who works in the genealogy department here, this is work that we get to do. We love it. We come to work super excited. So never worry about coming in. You're never going to be a burden. We love having people come in. All right, that's my whole presentation. So do we have questions about getting started? Oh, come on, somebody's got a question.
You deal with multiple name changes when you're the one starting out with multiple names. I was born one name, I got a double more.
Oh,
Use the original.
Okay, that is an excellent question. So if you did not hear that, we're talking about multiple name changes. So born with one name, adopted and your name changed.
Yep.
And then there's a third. You're hyphenated. Okay, so in that situation, that's a good question. I would record it under your birth name because that's the record that's going to generate your birth certificate. But every single repository has places where you can make notes, other names they may have been known by. I've used that for women as they've gotten married. If they've married multiple times, you might find them under this surname. So there are places where you can mark that, make a note of adoption, that's your adopted name. And Family Search, that I use Family Search a lot. There are places you could put whole notes. So you can tell, you can go in there and type it out like, these are the names I used and this is why. So that's a great question. That's a really great question. Did that help you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
So, I have interviewed my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a very wise woman. And she loved her here. She has passed now, years ago.
I'm
And
sorry.
a lot of times when I would interview her, I would just type it in quickly and I need to organize it. I know what I was thinking when I put this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to, I guess, get that an organized system with her information. And a lot of it is family history.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're great
Yeah.
stories or side notes, but they're not, reported facts maybe.
Right.
That's more for generation that she
Sure.
knew their stories. But so organizing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So much about that thing.
Sure. So the question is about, we call those oral histories, actually.
Right.
Yeah. And we record oral histories as much as possible. I love having the opportunity to sit down and interview people. But the organization can be tricky. So there are several methods. Do you have it typed up? So you could, do you all know about the Control F function on your computer? If you have Control F. So if you have a document, like you type it into Word, you can hit the Control button and the F button at the same time, and a little window will pop up and you can do a keyword search. So if you wanted to look up if grandma had a cat named Scooby, and you know that it's part of that history and you want to find it, you could type Scooby in and it will take you right to. So if it, yeah, if you have the year, if you have the name of the school, it's a great function if it's already typed up. So yeah. I'm going to be doing one of our roundtables on oral histories. I can't remember if it's April or May. I'll check. It is. It's always the first Saturday. Yep. Always the first Saturday of the month at 11. Yes. And we would love it if you came. We're going to be adding a Zoom link as well. But I was researching oral histories, and this woman who I was watching her presentation, and she records things, and then as she listens back to it, there is actually a function on Google Docs, if your computer has a microphone, that you can just, as you're listening, say the words out loud and it will type it out on the computer for you. So that would save me hours, because often it's the transposing everything that takes so long. But we're going to talk about how to record it, and then once it's recorded, how do you get it on paper? Once it's on paper, how do you want to draft it into a narrative? Do you want to use that information to tell the story? All of those things. If you do have it on a Word doc, and if you don't have a family tree on Family Search, that would be a great thing to put on Family Search in the notes section. You could put the whole, everything that's typed up could go in there, and then everybody would have access to it, if you're comfortable with that. So does that help you at all?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard. If I were doing it, once you have the interview, I like narratives. I like stories more than just bare facts. So I would probably go through and try to organize it chronologically. Like, this is where she was born, memories from childhood, where and when she went to school, stuff like that, and just kind of go through it. But again, you can do whatever you want. It's your family history. So for the roundtable, we've actually been meeting in the genealogy room. I do have this room reserved because if we ever get big enough that we outgrow the genealogy room, we have this room reserved that we can move into. It's on this floor. Do you know where the children's department is? So if you're walking down that hallway toward the children's department, we're the very first room on the right-hand side. There's a big door. Yeah.
And you're there every day or just certain hours?
We are there on Monday through Friday. Mondays, we are there from 11 to 7:30. And then Tuesday through Friday, we are there from 11 to 5. If you need an appointment outside of those times, please let us know. We can adjust our schedules. We can go out to North Dearborn if somebody needs to meet out that way. If you need a Zoom meeting, we can do Zoom. We try to be very, very flexible. And then the first Saturday of every month, obviously, we're there from 10 to 2 so we can set up for the roundtable and do the roundtable and then visit and help people after the roundtable. You can. This month, is it next? It's not this Saturday, it's next Saturday. My associate Karen Page is doing a presentation on house histories. And house histories, figuring out when your house was built, who lived there, if it's a historical house. She's been working really, really hard, and it's going to be a great presentation. So if you're, I'm sorry, the roundtable is at 11 to noon. And we are going to have a Zoom link. So hopefully we're going to get all of those kinks ironed out. So there's a pretty steep learning curve here for us.
Thank you.
We're going to figure it out and make it available to as many people as we can. Because we understand a lot of people maybe can't get out, or the weather's nasty and you just don't want to leave your house. So we want people to be able to participate. We also, if you're interested, have a historical book club that we're going to be doing. Our first meeting is in March. We're reading The Dressmakers of Auschwitz, which is a true story. I had no idea. I just finished reading it, and it was, it is a historical book club. It will be, gosh, it's in March. I cannot remember the day. I will get it and I will email it out. It is on the library calendar. So it will be in the genealogy room. And again, we've reserved this room if we get too many people, but the book, I mean, it's horrible to say that I really enjoyed Auschwitz, but I really enjoyed this book. It was very, very moving. The Dressmakers of Auschwitz. Yep. True story. And it was incredible. Yeah. I had no idea. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. War is awful. The stories of resilience, though, are just, yeah. Yeah. I understand.
How accurate is that DNA stuff thing?
How accurate is the DNA?
Do you
So
hear people get it all the time? Go back this far.
yeah. So here's the thing with DNA. It changes. Your DNA does not change, but the results might. And the reason that they might change is because I did my DNA through Ancestry. As more and more people are submitting their DNA to Ancestry and their pool becomes larger, they're able to get more accurate. So when I first got my results, I was predominantly Irish, and Irish is now not even in the top 3. So yeah, it has changed quite a bit. But it is, so far, it has been spot on with the research that I have compiled. As it changes, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. One of the big hiccups, if you're French, DNA and genetic ancestry DNA in France is illegal. It's considered an invasion of privacy. So if you have French ancestry, it's not going to pop up. And many of them are pretty good about Europe and into parts of Asia. But if you have Native American ancestry or Inuit ancestry, it's going to be a little bit wonky just because their pool for that DNA is so small to draw from. So one of my friends who is Native American, it showed them having DNA from, gosh, now I can't even remember. It was one of the countries on the west coast of Africa. But it can be a little bit. There is one, I want to say it's My Living DNA. I'll check. But if you have ancestry from the UK, it can get you down to parish level. Their pool is so big for that area that they can be highly specific. So your Richard Burnside in England, you can get down to this parish. So you're not looking for 85 different Richard Burnsides in the. So far, so good, but we'll see. Yes. I do this a lot, so I go on and check all the time. I'm like, oh look, I'm not Irish anymore, I check it a lot because, yeah, I do get emails from Ancestry that they have they've updated some of their information, so you can go in and check. I honestly don't know if they send one out every time it changes, just because I'm always in there and checking, but I think you would get notified. So
I did 23 and
mm-hmm.
I get all the time.
From
Especially if someone wants to like connect with me,
so 23andMe has been good for you.
my niece did both. She did Ancestry and 23, and she became Ancestry. And it's just a little bit like the screens and stuff are sort of already like built.
Yeah.
Like every family member at the time.
I think that's because Ancestry, more people have been in there doing genealogy. So as you connect through your DNA, the trees are there just because they have been into their genealogy. 23andMe, you don't have as many people take 23andMe because they're curious about their DNA, not necessarily because they have built a tree and want to dig into and like find the nitty-gritty details of their I want to take more DNA tests just because the companies are different and there are different tests available. Some companies offer like Y-DNA testing, which is through the men's line. The Y-DNA changes very, very little over time. So just an example from my own tree, my grandfather was an illegitimate child. We don't know who his biological father was. So I can get my dad and my brother to take these Y-DNA tests, and then we can use that to trace the paternal line because it is.
I have 2 remaining brothers,
Mhm.
and I've asked both. Because on the news sort of recently, there's sort of a conspiracy.
Yeah. So I understand that the privacy concerns. Things that you should know, these major DNA companies, they protect that information as much as they can. They make they have to go through the whole legal process. They make them jump through all the hoops before they're willing to provide any information at all. But also, it's very, very rare for that information to be used, like if they're investigating a crime, because have you ever watched a cop show? They talk about the chain of custody, right? You always have to know like where this came from and they signed for it and it's sealed in a baggie. For these DNA tests, you spit in a tube and send it through USPS, there's no chain of custody. So having it used for legal purposes that's not going to be their go-to. I'm not going to say it has never happened, because it has. They have used it as a jumping off point, but then they have to verify through other sources as well.
I'm a little confused. The DNA that you send in that tells your country of origin.
Mhm.
How do you, then you're also talking about 23andMe DNA, can you actually find a person?
So if you submit your DNA to one of these companies like Ancestry, 23andMe, any of them, they will tell you, like you match with this person. The unit of measurement is centimorgans. I'm not going to try to get all scary science on anybody here, but it will tell you have this many centimorgans in common. We have a chart that helps you see, okay, if I have this many centimorgans, they're either a second cousin or a first cousin 3 times removed or whatever. So it can help you to connect if that person makes their DNA public. You have to go through, I think, with Ancestry and be like, nobody can see my DNA. Otherwise, the default is, we're going to try to help you find your family. So, but you don't, I've sent messages to people like, I think we're related. I'd like to find out how, and I never get a response. So some people go in there just because they want to see that I'm like 16% German, or, so but it can help you connect with real people, which is something adopted people. I know a lot of people who've been adopted who have used their genetic, the DNA testing to connect with their biological.
My mom remarried second dad.
Gotcha.
Now,
Okay.
my brother-in-law was totally
Yeah.
he ended up with 20. His mom's family.
Really? I love that. Oh, I love that. Reunion stories, guys. It's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
He was in St. Joseph's orphanage. And his
Yeah.
dad adopted him.
And that
he
can
probably
be-
did one of his mom ended up living in like Lorraine.
So this is what I tell people when they come in, like, my grandma was part of the orphan train. I want to know where she came from. I'm like, me too. You might want to consider DNA, because if orphanages and orphan trains, there aren't a lot of
I guess
records.
his mom had to say, I'll reject it. Had done a test too.
If she had done the test and it popped up like, hey, we think this is your son. I got it popped up. Hey, we think this is your dad. I'm like, that's totally my dad. He bought the test. I mean, we bought the test, and my sister won't do hers. I keep calling her like, just spit in the tube. But what's interesting? As I've gotten into it and I've looked at the centimorgans and the percentages of the DNA that come from dad's side and that come from mom's side, there are slight variations between myself and my siblings. I mean, like in theory, you get 50% from mom and 50% from dad, right? But theory and practice aren't always the same. You might have more in common, more of your genetics through your mother's line than your father's line. So my siblings and I, our percentages, I mean, they're fairly close because we are biologically related, but they are slightly different. And it's interesting to see, oh, you're more German, that explains your temper, It's fun. Yeah, it's interesting to see how it is, how we're all, yeah. And it's fascinating. It is fascinating.
Something popped up on my 23andMe that I have a nephew that I didn't know I had. So apparently one of my brothers has a child. And
Oh, wow.
they don't know it either. And
That
so I
is,
connected
yeah,
with- Sure, that happens.
it really does.
I
Yeah.
connected not my nephew, but with his son. And we're just now like testing the waters a little bit, because. That's
Yeah.
something that his
I don't know
dad
if you can
may
hear
not
that.
know.
We're talking about unexpected results from DNA.
Okay,
How you
thanks.
might find things, and that's always the caveat, guys. When people are getting ready to do their DNA testing, you have to be prepared. Like, you might not see what you think you're going to see. So just buyer beware kind of a deal.
You might have answered this before. Did you say if someone does ancestry.com and then someone else does 23andMe, do they interact with each other? I mean,
They do not talk to each other. The different companies are proprietary. Um,
yeah.
there is a program. If you do multiple tests, you can enter them into a separate program, but that's not necessarily going to match you with anybody. It just helps you to understand your centimorgans better.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you wanted to match with 23andMe people, you would have to do 23andMe. Ancestry, you'd have to do Ancestry. It'd be nice if they all played together, but
Yeah.
they got to make their money. So
You never know if there's someone you don't know. Like I know my brother which one he used, but I don't know if I have a long lost cousin out there somewhere. I don't know what he or she used. You know what I mean? So
yeah, so one of my friends just today told me that she was submitting her tube for the 4th or 5th company that she is
yeah.
testing through, just because she really loves that genetic aspect. So she's like, I'm sending another one. Let me know if it changes. Did you have another question?
No, Mom, do you have any questions?
No.
No, I think my mom will join you for the book club. She's already read that book, so.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? It's so,
Yes, it was very good.
it's not a happy story, guys. It's not I mean, it's Auschwitz, but it was so good. And I'm working on using Beanstack, which is the program that we use for summer reading and things, to put together these book challenges. So you can read the book, and then I'm going to have different links, like a tour of Auschwitz and an interview with the author and a couple different things. Yeah, a video tour. Oh gosh, I wish. No, there was a gentleman I found. He did a video. He walked through and took video. I'm not posting any actual pictures from Auschwitz. If you want to see those, look for yourself, because that's there. It is a difficult subject. Yeah, it's hard. It is. It's very hard. I just saw a thing online. They're trying to get International Holocaust Remembrance Day up and going, because that's not a thing, and you want to make sure that that history is preserved. So what's today? Wednesday? On Friday, they're asking everybody to take a picture with a piece of paper that says "We remember" and post it on social media to help. I am not Jewish at all, but I believe that that should be preserved, so I will be participating. Yep, it is for everybody. So just "We remember," post a picture. I think it would be really great to keep those stories alive, especially as this generation is aging. So yeah. Yeah. I love their stories though. Just the resilience is unfathomable to me. Sure, yeah. Mm. Is that through 23andMe? There's one of them. Yeah. Did you do the genetics or just like the genetic screening at the doctor's office? Okay. Okay, and that was through 23andMe? Oh, okay. That's probably more medically based. There is one DNA company, and I want to say it's 23andMe, but please don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Ask Cassie, she'll know. That they tell you are people in your family go bald, or people in your family are prone to color blindness, or yeah, or they can roll their tongue. That's a genetic trait that runs in people in your family. So it's really cool. I can't remember which company it is, but there is one that tells you that you're higher, not that you will ever get sick, but that you're at higher risk. But right. Oh, gosh. Well, that's a blessing. That's separate from genetic genealogy. You can have genetic screening done through your doctor's office, and they do screen more for different cancers and yeah. And honestly, I don't know if 23andMe would, if that's even the company. I could be wrong. But whichever company it is, I'm not sure if they would list cancer or if it's more of the wonky, like people in your family have 2 different color eyes, or it is 23andMe. Perfect. Do you remember if it talked about cancer at all? This isn't a test. If you don't remember, it's okay. So extra fee, maybe? Okay. Yeah. I wonder if you could go back, if you didn't do it before, you could say, oh, hey, I actually want to unlock this thing, and if they would let you do it that way. You can? Oh, that's cool. So you can pay more later. That's awesome.
I think my daughter explained to me that there's something at the Christ Hospital. Genetic referral fund. She was like, well, I'm kind of a family will do that. And they're always saying, well, maybe she can do that.
Genetic screening for Alzheimer's. Right. I'm sure if you ever were to participate in something like that through the hospital, that they would have you sign all kinds of waivers. Yep. They've got to protect themselves too. It really is. I understand the need for the research. So if you know you've got a family history, that can be really cool, but I mean, I get it. I don't know that I would do that. I'm happier with the color blindness screening than the, oh, you're gonna get cancer and die screening. That's true. So she said that she was a fan of the testing because if she tested it was familiar, then her children and grandchildren could also qualify for the testing for free. Yeah. That's okay. Well, I'm glad it wasn't familiar though, because yay, everything runs in my family, guys, like everything. It's fine. All right. Well, thank you for coming. If you ever have any questions, come see us, call us, keep your eyes peeled. We're going to be doing classes about family search and about ancestry. If there are other topics you would like us to do classes about, let me know. We would be happy to start putting things together. So thank you for coming, and we'll go ahead and say goodbye. I'm going to stop this recording. Thank you for showing up.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, you can stop by the genealogy room and you can pick up the pedigree charts and family group sheets.
They have the test now.
Yes, we have a whole stack on the desk.